Hello everyone, I hope you're doing very well today. In this video, I have a bit of a collection update for you, some of the 4K Blu-rays that I've been adding to my collection as of late. These all happen to be Kino Lorber 4K discs that are upgrades of films that I already have in my collection, and spoiler alert, these upgrades are well worth having. And it just so happens that some of these films that I'm about to show you are some of the best films of all time. That's no exaggeration. So even if you're not interested in these 4K discs that I'm talking about, please take these as recommendations for films to go and seek out for yourselves, because I truly do believe that these films I'm about to talk about are some of the best that I've ever seen. Without further ado, let's get into these films. And the first disc, it is not hyperbole when I say that this is one of the best films of all time. It's 12 Angry Men, and this is the 4K disc from Kino Lorber that I am so happy now to have in my collection. This film, by the way, recently made news on Letterboxd because they changed their algorithm in terms of how they rank films based on their average rating, and this is now number 3 in terms of the highest ratings of all time, and it is the highest rated American film out of all films. So that is a side note, but trust me, if you haven't seen this film or you haven't heard of it, it is well worth seeking out. To give you a very brief synopsis of the film, it follows these 12 jury members as they have to deliberate and decide on the final verdict for this murder case. At the beginning of the film, just one of these jury members, played by Henry Fonda, believes that the defendant could not be guilty, and he has a tall task of explaining why he thinks this to the other jury members. It might sound very boring, it might sound very stagey, but in fact, it's one of the most thrilling films out there with incredible performances. And for a film that takes place primarily in one room, the direction from Sidney Lumet, who this was his directorial debut, if you can believe that, he makes it so engaging. It looks stunning on this disc, and it is a vast improvement over previous copies of this film, such as this one, the Criterion Blu-ray edition. The Kino absolutely blows it out of the water in terms of video and audio performance. There is a difference in special features between the two discs, so I probably will keep a hold of the Criterion, but for the film itself, this is the best version. In terms of special features, there are some audio commentaries and a making of documentary, but most importantly for me is you also get the 1997 TV film version directed by William Friedkin with another set of great actors, namely including people like Jack Lemmon and George C. Scott, James Gandolfini. There are so many great actors in that version. That is not available on Blu-ray in this country, and I know that Kino sell that on a separate Blu-ray, but to have it here as an extra feature is just an excellent bonus. So if I haven't sold you on this yet, I don't know what more I can say. The film, one of the best of all time, and the disc from Kino is superb. I should say at this point, by the way, that if you are in the UK, like I am, and you want to get your hands on some of these great Kino Lorber 4K discs, you can go to Boutique Home Video's website right now. I'll include links in the description of this video. They have the widest range available at the moment, and all of them are imported in the UK already, and you get free and, most importantly, fast shipping. Also, if you're quick, they have a sale right now on Kino Lorber discs, so you can go and get some extra discounts on all of the Kino stuff that they have. And now if you spend over £50, you get 5% off your order, and if you spend over £100, you get 10% off. They've told me that they're going to be getting some new Criterion discs in soon too, so if you want to get some of your pre-orders in, then just drop them an email. They're already taking pre-orders for some of the latest Criterion discs. I'll leave their email in the description of this video. The next film that I want to talk about, also a Kino Lorber 4K disc, is Serpico, another film from the great Sidney Lumet, this time with Al Pacino. And this is one of the greatest films of the 1970s. We follow Al Pacino as Serpico, who is a police officer in New York City, and he sees all of the corruption within the police department, and he doesn't want to take part in that corruption. He wants things to be fair and just, as they should be, but he finds a lot of resistance from the system itself, and it's a great look at this character really taking on the system. As with 12 Angry Men, this is a stunning 4K disc from Kino, one that I'm happy to have in my collection, and it is an upgrade over the old Masters of Cinema Blu-ray, which I think came out about 10 years ago now. So it is an upgrade in terms of picture quality from this. So I'm so happy to have the 4K disc. And please do seek out this film, even if you're not interested in this 4K disc. It is a great film, and it has stood the test of time. Even though it's 50 years old, it is a great film. Speaking of great films, we come to another favourite of mine, and a favourite for a lot of people out there. It's The Night of the Hunter, the classic film from director Charles Laughton, the only film that he ever directed. What a crying shame that he never got to make any more films. Starring Robert Mitchum, Shelley Winters. This film is a searing depiction of immorality and Southern Gothic atmosphere. It really is hard for me to describe. You have to watch this one because it is so unique for the time. It's tackling issues in the 1950s that weren't really tackled in cinema until the 60s and the 70s, when it became acceptable to question these type of immoral characters. Some of the things in this film are just so shocking. You have Robert Mitchum as this fake preacher character who is just out there for money and power and will stop at nothing to get what he wants from these children. And it is frightening at times. His performance is just towering. And this has to be one of Robert Mitchum's best performances, if not the very best. What always strikes me about this film is, as I said, Charles Laughton, this is the only film he directed. We know him as being one of the greatest actors of all time. But to see him behind the camera here and how he directs this movie, it is so assured. And he knows just exactly what to do, where to place the camera, how to move it. And it's miraculous. And like I said, a real shame that we never got any more of this from him. Everything about this film is stunning. And to have it on this 4K disc where it looks beautiful. The cinematography, Stanley Cortez, I think it was, seeing the black and white expressionist cinematography on the 4K disc, it's just sublime. This is another one that is well worth upgrading if you have one of the existing Blu-rays. I just have the old Arrow Video or Arrow Academy disc. This is from about 10 years ago. And there is the Criterion Blu-ray, of course, but the new 4K disc absolutely trumps these older Blu-rays. They might be worth keeping for the different special features, but for the performance of the film itself, you definitely want to get that 4K disc. This next film is quite a good one to follow on from Night of the Hunter because it too is a vicious, nasty, cynical type of film that I think most people don't actually expect it to be this before they see it. It's High Plains Drifter. This is Clint Eastwood's movie. He directed it. He starred in it. It is, of course, a Western, but this is the 1970s. This is a different kind of Western where things started to be questioned. The idea of the American hero, the myth of the old cowboy, really was in question here. A lot of these characters now were seen as, yes, being some kind of hero, but also being incredibly flawed, incredibly immoral at times. And this is something that Eastwood would go on to later in his career. You look at Unforgiven, which is one of his masterpieces. This is very much in that vein. it's important to say all of that about how it differs from the old idea of the American Western, because you might be someone who's not really into watching cowboy movies, you don't really find them appealing, but some of these later Westerns, the 70s, 80s and 90s, were where things really were tackling deeper issues, darker issues, which are more about humanity itself rather than the setting of the Western. Please do seek this one out. It is a great film, and the Kino Lorber 4K is the best it's ever looked with the new Dolby Vision grade. It sounds brilliant. The colours in this film look beautiful because it was shot mostly on location. It wasn't shot on a backlot. So it has a very unique feeling for this kind of Western. You do also get a bunch of special features. There's some audio commentaries. There's one with Alex Cox, who is a great fan of Westerns, great fan of spaghetti Westerns. And of course, you've got that Eastwood, Sergio Leone connection here, because Clint Eastwood took what he learnt on those spaghetti Westerns and really shaped that into his own idea of the American Western. You see bits here of like classic John Ford, but you also see Sergio Leone in here as well. And it's a great mishmash, a great blending of those styles. And again, I'm upgrading this because I do have the older UK Blu-ray of this, and the new 4K does look head and shoulders better than the old Blu-ray. The Blu-ray was pretty good already, but for me, I had to get the 4K. So I hope you enjoyed that little collection update of some 4K Kino Lorbers that I have added. If you're in the UK and you want to get some of these, go over to Boutique Home Video and check out what they've got. They've got that offer on Kino Lorbers at the moment, so do go and check that out while stocks last. If you want to stick around on the channel and watch more recommendation videos, then just click the one on screen right now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.